Whoops, I almost forgot to record Kirblog again. Good thing I didn't forgot. Today's topic is from Braxton Spaulding. Kirb, I really hope you see this comment. I did. I've been many of your blogs for a while, and I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with discouragement? I recently began taking classes at a college for game design, and almost immediately I fell out of place, looking around at my friends and fellow students. It seems like they all came in more skilled, more talented, more informed than me. I'm sure that as an artist you must have dealt with feelings of inadequacy before. How would you recommend dealing with them? So first of all, I am going to recommend that you, if you want to get some advice out of this one, first go take a listen, if you have not heard them before, to some older career blogs of mine that are related to the topic. I might repeat some information off of them, but go check out It's Never Too Late, which is kind of an older one, and Motivation to the Next Level, which is a more recent one. Discouragement. It is indeed something that I have dealt with many times for a really long time. I was bullied as a kid. I was never beaten up, thankfully. I'm very, very, very thankful for that. But I was discouraged a lot for just kind of the person who I was. As far as my work goes, I didn't really think too heavily about it until college. When I was in elementary, middle, and high school, I just kind of did whatever and didn't think too hard about it. I certainly could have pushed myself more, which I'm sure I've said in other career blogs as well, and I've had some regrets about that. But in terms of discouragement, most of it was just that kind of phase of your life can be kind of determined to nothing really matters to me that much, because most of the people that treat you like shit are going to go on to be flipping McDonald's burgers, and they're not going to have any major impact on your life. If they're beating you up and causing you physical injury, then yes, that is different. But I personally only ever dealt with people who were naysayers and douchebags and whatever. So that was barely an issue. College is really where I learned what it means to feel discouraged, truly. My first year of college was the one that I do have like some major regrets in, because of just I got way too off track of everything that was important. That was the worst because first of all, I went into it and it was me and Mike Lucas and Zach Bellissimo. The three of us knew each other. We made some friends pretty early on. In particular, we made a bunch of friends. Actually, before we went to college, we took I think it was a 2 or 3 week long test program where we both took the cartooning major at the School of Visual Arts, and had to do some stuff. And we met a bunch of people there, a bunch of other students that would later go on to attend the school. And when we went to SVA for our first year, we met all of them again. And basically, I can surmise it to they were all absolutely in love with Mike Lucas, and they wanted nothing to do with me whatsoever. So that was the atmosphere that I was surrounded with for the most part for the first half of my first year of college. Thankfully, and this is why Mike Lucas is still my best friend to this day, because I'd known him since the 5th grade, earlier technically. He saw what was happening, and he ultimately, left those people who were treating me like garbage, and so I was able to keep him, and I was, very, very fortunate for that. He was also my roommate at the time, which, helped, I'm sure. But, so there was that, and a lot of that attitude from them came from, not just because I was annoying or, obnoxious or whatever, but it was because I wasn't as good of an artist as him, and they had this mentality of like, you're not good enough. You're not good enough at what it is that you're coming to this school for, to be within our presence. Granted, I was also from a different major. These were all cartoony people, and I was an animator. I was an animation major, and I tried to stay relatively humble about it, but it just wasn't really clicking, and so that was making me feel really down on myself. I think I was trying to make up for it when I had my first year animation class, and I was like, I've done animation before. I did all this stuff on Newgrounds. Yeah, I'm gonna do really well. And then I took on a more advanced assignment for something in my first year animation class, and completely bombed it. And so that was a learning experience, if nothing else, in the fact that I was like, oh, I'm not as good as I think I am by many aspects. Okay, time to have a slice of humble pie. Now, that experience with those kids in that first year was the beginning of what it is that I had to learn, the hard way, increasingly over time. The second half of my first year, which kind of continues this, is when I was doing a lot of my most well-known stuff on Newgrounds at the time. I had done Parody Rangers, and then I had moved on to the Nintendo collabs and Brawl Taunts, of course, at the time, and the Parody Rangers movie. I had the Mario RPG Lost Forest thing up by that point. So, I was getting to have a name for myself by the time that I had gotten through my first year of college or so. And then into the summer of that, which was the summer of 2008. So, at the time that I had been doing this stuff, I was building up a little bit more of a fan base. This is a subject I'm going to tackle another time, because I did get a question about my transition from parody stuff to original stuff, and that is a whole other, thing I want to go into at some point. But kind of keeping sort of in the same vein, basically, I really wanted to feel accepted within the Newgrounds community of artists and animators, and I was not. I have never thought very highly of myself or my work. I just do whatever it is that I enjoy, and I do it to the best of my ability, and I have fun doing it. But unfortunately, for a multitude of reasons, I did not come off as such. I came off as being pompous and being full of myself, and thinking that what it is that I was doing was so great, and even to some extent better than what other people were doing. Which was not my intention, but either way, it still happened, and that that was the result I got. Is I was not really accepted into that circle. Now years later, there are a lot of people that come from that background of former Newgrounds animators, that we have mutual respect for each other, because we've kind of gone on different paths, and we've done a lot of different things since then. But it was a time where I was trying too hard to be accepted with the stuff that I did. And, I was still enjoying it. I was having fun, but I was, I've also said this before too. I was motivated for the wrong reasons for why I did a lot of that stuff. I've said this in the origin of the Nintendo collabs thing probably, and I'm sure the It's Been a Week thing where I updated about why I did Brawl Taunts 4 and why it was the way it was. But again, that's a whole other subject. The point is, my attitude, the way I presented myself, and my body of work at the time was, it was getting a lot of discouragement, because I had a lot of my peers and people that I respected, looking down on me and judging me and thinking that I didn't have an original bone in my body, and, getting the completely wrong idea about how I viewed myself and my own work. And so I was really discouraged. So now, to get to the actual topic at hand, how do I deal with discouragement? The very black and white answer is I work. I continue to work. I continue to push myself. I treat this. I know I've said a lot even before I was doing Kirblogs. I treat everything that I do as an experiment in getting better and doing better on the next thing that I do after I finish it. The Nintendo collabs were experiments in working with a team of animators. The Parody Rangers movie was an experiment in, doing something really, really long term, practically on my own. Et cetera. Those are just a few examples, but that was generally what I was trying to do. And from just a human standpoint, it's we all go through life making mistakes. We learn from those mistakes, hopefully, and then we become better people as a result of it. But there are folks that this is the harsh reality of that I've learned from the stories that I told earlier, and also as I've learned from moving out here to California and meeting more people in the entertainment industry in general. The entertainment industry is filled with a lot of catty people. That's just the reality. Is other people who are, creative folks, whether they're artists, actors, animators, writers, musicians, whatever, there's, you have a bit of that invincibility complex when you're at a certain age or when you're at a certain skill level, and you think that, you have a sense of confidence in your ability, which I think is important, but it also sometimes turns into, pettiness towards your peers and colleagues. when I first came out here, I knew full well that there were a whole bunch of people that probably would have preferred that I just turn right the fuck back around, go back to New York, and not come here. And I know full well that there are people here, as I've survived for almost half a year now, who probably still feel that way. And my coping mechanism for dealing with that, discouragement, whether it's told to my face or just through secondhand or shit talking or hearing down the grapevine or whatever, I just have to keep to myself and stay focused and motivated. Because if I give in and I'm just like, oh, fuck it, I just give up, I'm going to go home and I'm going to never do anything creative that I care about ever again because nobody likes me, or these people don't like me, or these people think I'm going to fail, or, these people think that what I'm doing isn't good enough or whatever. I probably talked about a lot of this on my Kirblog about when I was going to be moving. I didn't know, and I still don't know if I'm ready, if I'm necessarily at the skill level that is required to really work out here, whether it's animation, art, acting, whatever. I have no idea, but I did it, and I'm living my own life, and I'm doing the best job that I fucking can, I've had a lot of experiences where, again, kind of going back to the Newgrounds part of this whole mythos in particular, where I've had people that, and some of you might even know exactly what I'm talking about specifically. I'm not going to go into it. You can go digging for it, I guess. I've had people who were once my friends, or who I once respected, or who I once worked with, completely change their mind about me, based on personal experiences and also judgments of my work, and just absolutely trash me as a person and the stuff that I produce. And that sucks, and it's I get can get defensive about it, and I can get upset about it, and lose a little bit of spark and lose some motivation, but I have to get up the next morning, and I have to keep going, and I have to push myself further, and I have to keep working and doing the best that I can, and not for the sake of proving those people wrong, or proving anybody wrong. It's just because it's what I feel I have to do. It's part of who I am. It's part of it is the essence really of what it is that I care about doing more than anything else in the world. And for me to give up or be completely just like crushed by the words of others is devaluing the work that I do, and really the medium in general. That's completely ridiculous. Now, I think if you're in a position to where like, okay, I've realized that this isn't for me, that I think is different. That's a conversation that you have to have with yourself, and that shouldn't necessarily be dependent on people discouraging you or saying you can't do this or you shouldn't do this or whatever. The other thing too is from the opposite perspective. I've dealt with some people who have been really unprofessional or really aggravating, or done some inappropriate shit that I don't necessarily agree with. And I've had some conversations where I've been very, very harsh in the same way that some people have been on me. But never in my life have I, and nor will I ever be like, you should stop doing this, you shouldn't do this, you can't do this. If I think that somebody is not at the level that is necessary yet, I will let them know, depending, but I'm never going to be like, you should stop doing this because you're not good enough and you never will be. That's fucked up, and nobody should do that. And there was a time where I think I had more of a mentality of like, oh yeah, people are just getting into it for bad reasons, or yeah, people shouldn't do it because they don't care really, or whatever. I had a little bit more of an elitist mindset, and that was one of the things that rubbed my peers the wrong way in my Newgrounds time. And I, had to step back and look at myself and the position I was in, and realize, that's not fair. And nobody should be told that, and nobody should be made to feel that necessarily. I think that honesty and critique is extremely important, but making people feel like garbage about themselves because they're not good enough in your eyes, the light, the heat in your eyes, is fucked up. So, and that's a lesson that I've really taken to heart and applied to myself, how I think of myself, how I treat others, how I wish to be treated by others, and I think that's something that anybody, it's a lesson that anybody can learn, really. lastly, to address something particularly about the question, the way it was worded, I go into this a little bit more in my motivation Kirblog, but I will reiterate it here. If you're surrounded by people who are superior to you, which I have been all my life, and honestly most people will be, because that's just how it goes. There are always going to be several people better than you at what you do, you in the general sense, not you, the person who wrote this question. You need to have that be your motivation. You need to be like, and especially if they're friends of yours and not necessarily like, rivals in a negative sense. They can be your rivals in a friendly way for sure. But you need to, use where they're at or where you consider them to be at as your motivation of, I gotta be that good, It's funny because I even have people, I'm going to out Xander Mobus. Xander Mobus thinks that the Super Smash Brothers announcer thinks that I am doing better than him since we moved here to California. I've been here for only maybe like 2 months longer than he is since he moved to California, and he's convinced that I'm doing better. On the other hand, I'm like, Xander, you have a traditional acting background and you booked a major Nintendo game. Like, what are you talking about? And we're both in the first video game project that we booked out here, which we can't talk about yet, but we will be able to next year, hopefully. But yeah, and it's like, and I look at him and I'm like, Xander, is great, and he's one of many people that I surround myself with as far as voice actors go. Specifically, I'm using voice acting as just an example of many of the things that I try to involve myself with creatively. Where I'm like, I got to get as good as all these folks that I work with and that I'm friends with, who are getting all these auditions and doing really well for themselves, and and then on the other hand, on the animation side, it's like there's Mike Rocco and Zach Bellissimo and Tara Billinger, all these people who are working in the industry. They have studio jobs, and I'm like, I got to get to a point where I can be as good as them, and I can earn something like that, and get to that level, and really, hopefully deserve it. That's what it has to come down to. You have to spin it into something positive, because if you let it fester and turn into something negative, it's just going to bum you out. It's going to make you unmotivated, and it's going to make you want to quit, and you can't quit. If you want to quit for your own personal reasons because you're not finding passion in it, sure. But if your passion that you have that is really strong is being sullied by other people treating you like garbage, or if you're letting negativity, spread because of your own unconfidence in a way that isn't fair to yourself, then that's not good, and you need to be able to overcome that and listen to the person who wrote this and to anybody getting anything out of this. Everybody goes through this. Everybody, no matter how good they are, as the example I just provided with Xander and many more, everybody goes through stuff like this. We're human beings. We're all a little sensitive. If we're artists, we're all a little, socially inept. We're all a little weird and quirky. We all have got, our own personal issues. We all have moments of unconfidence and overconfidence and everything in between on that scale, etc. It happens, but you just have to keep going. You have to persevere. You have to push yourself to do better. And, eventually you can get to a point of balance within yourself to where, you can be happy with what it is that you've managed to reach, the level that you're at, and accept that, and accept the level that you were at previously, and not look back on it with disdain, and, just keep reaching for the stars. That's what it comes down to. I think that's about all I have to say. I mean, I could probably keep going on about this for hours, but I think that's the most important thing to put out there. So, I don't know. Tell me in the comments below if you have any stories about unconfidence or discouragement and how you overcame it, or maybe even some particular parts. Sometimes I try to respond to comments if there's any ones I can get back to you on. Maybe I'll have some brief interaction in the comments as well regarding this topic. Let me know. And yeah, so otherwise, if you've got any ideas for future Kirblog topics, let me know in the comments as well, or you can hit me up on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, whatever you feel like, and that'll do it. Hope you all enjoyed this one. I was kind of debating on which topic to tackle this week, but I thought this would be a good one because it was semi-relevant to some of the stuff I was thinking about this past week or two. So, yeah, hope you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed listening at the very least, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great one. Bye.